So when we take this 192.168.10.0 network, if you think it's /24, let's say, the first three octets going to be constant. Okay, it will never change. So 192.168.10 dot is the constant one, and 0 to 255 is going to change. Okay, let's say next IP address 192.168.10.1, the second one third, then 3.4.5 up to 255 is going to reach. Okay, so this is the way it's going to increase the IP addresses. Okay, so in this particular subnet 192.168.10.0/24, in this subnet you are going to have this much of IP addresses, which is 0.2.0.255. Okay, and the main point you need to know in this particular dot 0 and dot 255, this 0 is the network address. Okay, in any subnet, when you found the first IP address, which is going to be the network address. Okay, and in the same subnet, the last IP address, which is going to be considered as the broadcast address. Okay, you can assign your PCs or laptops except these network address and broadcast address you can assign to your PC. You can assign to your PCs, right? This is called usable host. Okay, sorry about my handwriting. Actually, my real ones are good. This is to the mouse handwriting. Yeah? So the usable host, which is like .1, .2, .3 up to .254, you can assign it to the PC. Since this is /24, you are going to have this kind of usable host. For example, like around 254 IP addresses you got, right? Totally 0 and .255. We can't assign it to the PCs, so that the rest we can assign it to PC. But actual scenario, as I told in the previous one, in this flow we have only 25 PCs, right? For example, I told. So as I told, like 25 PCs, if I'm going to assign this subnet for this particular flow, other than the 25 IP address and the usable and the broadcast, the rest of the around 200 IP addresses, right? More than 200 IP addresses are going to be unutilized, right? Until someone increase the end device count, we are not going to use anything, right? So these IP addresses are going to be wasted. In IT, what we generally do is we need to consume IP addresses. Okay, so what we are particularly using to consume IP addresses are, you can see this, subnetting. That's where the subnetting part came from. So by using the subnet, we can use the same IP address 192.168.10.0, same network. We can manipulate it, like instead of mentioning like let's say instead of /24, if I change this /24 into like /28, okay, that's the subnetting part. If I make it as /28, for example 192.168.10.0/28, so when I mention like /28, if I mention like /28, the IP address range which is going to be available will be cut off to half. Previously, if it is like until 255, Now it's going to be like until 128. Okay, how it's happening and in-depth idea of how this became 128. Earlier you told it's going to be 255. All these questions could be answered if you watch the previous video which I have pointed out in my channel. Also, I will attach that video link to the this video or the description. You can go through that one. Okay, for now I'm just giving a brief idea only. That's why I didn't take you through in depth, like step by step, because that particular video, when I try to make it to help the students of CCNA as well, so I particularly made that one, which is like a 2 hour, 2.5 hour video, I think. So I don't want to go through that much time on this particular ones. Okay. I just, when you come to work, and I just give an idea only. I don't need to spoon feed everything, right? So this is the thing. So /28 or /29, 30, you can see previously as I showed the example, it was mentioned /30, right? And how many IP addresses you got in that subnet? It mentioned only 4. So if you want to understand, I can show the same IP range with changing the /30 like /24, and we'll see the usable host address range will increase. Okay, let's have a look at that. So for now, 192.168.20.5 is the IP address given. So they are mentioning 20.4 is the network address, and the usable host IP range is going to be 192.168.20.5 to 6. So number of usable hosts are only 2 they have mentioned, right? So let's go back. You can see here the subnet I have selected /30. Here I'm going to select /24, and I'm going to mention 192.168.20.5 again, the same IP. Yeah? So this is actually not the network address. I'm just randomly picking an IP address, and I'm asking this particular website to calculate what is my network address of this given IP address is on, and what is the usable host address range, what is the broadcast address, everything I just wanted to know. Okay. So here IP address 192.168.20.5. Okay. Network address 192.168.20.0 as you see. Okay. Because I mentioned /24, right? The CIDR notation. Okay. /24. So it's getting the network address this. Usable host IP address 192.168.20.1 to 254. So the broadcast address .255, and here's the part number of usable hosts 254. Previously, when you mentioned /30, the number of usable hosts are only 4. Sorry, only 2, right? The total number of hosts are 4 earlier. In this scenario, you can see when you mention /24, it's going to count from 0 to 255. So when you mention /24, it's going to count from 192.168.20.0 to 192.168.20.255. Totally 256 addresses are there, and for the network address, one address is consumed, and for the broadcast address, one address is consumed. So totally 2 minus 25 from 256. So you will get number of usable hosts 254. And since this is /24, I said 3 octets are there, right? So if it is /24, 3 octets, these are going to mention the network portion, which is 255.255.255.0 is the host portion. Okay, and the wildcard mask is always the opposite of the network subnet. Okay, so you can see if there are 3 times 255, the wildcard mask will be 0.0.0, and 255 for the, it's the wildcard mask is the inverse of the subnet mask. You can simply put on like that. Okay. So IP type they are mentioning it's private IP. Okay. So in IP addresses, you need to have another idea on this. As I told, private IP ranges I need to mention. For now, I just gave a intro on IP address class ABC and how to get post an IP address and find the details of it. And the subnet you need to figure out through the video you can find out. So at last, I just give you an idea on the private IP address ranges. Okay. I'm mentioning this because in CCNA, definitely this is going to be tested, the private IP ranges. So in CCNA, actually the IP address questions, which definitely will test you on the private IP ranges. Okay. So you just need to Google on that, or it's a simple thing only. You can simply find it like private IP ranges. It's going to be like 10.0.0.0 and 172.16.0.0 to 172.31.0.0/16, and class C it's like 192.168.0.0 to 192.168.255.255. Okay, this is how it's going to be. So if I just go through it, private IP ranges, you can figure out this. Okay, so 10.0.0.0 10.255.255.255 until this from and to. Okay, and 172.16.0.0 to 172.31.255.255. Okay, the actually the host portion changes, that's what they are mentioning. uh, Simply it's like if you take this /8, right? So as I already told, the first octet for /8 it's going to be constant. So 10 dot will be constant. The remaining three octets is going to be changed every time you mention a different PC, like a IP address. Okay. So you can imagine if you change each octet from 0 to 255, and like this class A is going to have a long range of a large amount of IP address on for class A. Okay, for the host. If you take class B, it's going to be reduced. Why? Because in class B, the constant portion /16 means the first two octets going to be constant. So the remaining last two octets are going to be changed, and it's going to have less IP addresses than the class A. In class C, even the first three octets are going to be constant, right? Constant in the sense it's not going to change on the particular subnet. If you take 192.168.192.168.0 dot network, okay, /24. So if you take the IP address like this, the 192.168.0 dot subnet will definitely have this particular portions as constants. So this 192.168.0 will be constant. The remaining last portion is going to be changed, like dot 1, 2, 3 up to dot 255. It's going to be changed. And next, what happens? If you take 192.168, 192.168.5 dot or 192.168.1 dot /24. Again, it's going to be like 192.168.1 dot /24. Okay. The first three portions going to be same. The remaining one is going to change. Did you understand this? Okay. So I know I didn't give a clear explanation because it's going to consume more time. Okay. Which I already I have made a video. You can clearly go through that one. So if I make it again, it's going to be a waste, right? Waste of time. So I don't want to do that. So remember, each time they will test on CCN exams this private IP address range. Definitely there will be questions like 4 or 5. So have an idea. It's going to be anyways MCQ questions, but still, if you miscalculate, because main point in exams you can't use these tools, okay? So you need to have an idea how to calculate this. So these tools we can use when we work. We can just simply, we don't need to calculate everything, and if there's a mistake or you just count a different IP address, and if you misplace the IP, it's a problem. So no need. Better to use the tool, and you will have an idea. You can simply, it's like not even 1 minute, right? So you can simply put the IP address and press enter. It will give the details. So no need to worry on that. But in exams, what they are checking is whether you are capable of doing it or not. Okay. So just go through it. It will be easier. Okay. Better to view this video. This video is like a beginner friendly, like 2.5 hours. It's like in depth. You will have an idea. So better to watch that one. Okay.